In the quiet moments of the day's end, when all sounds slowly fade away, you immerse yourself in gentle and profound stories. They are like small lights, illuminating the path in your mind, guiding you through the worries of the long day to reach peace and a new source of inspiration. Just a few minutes before sleep, these stories will softly nurture your soul, bringing tranquility and preparing you for a fulfilling dream. Story 1. The Woodcutter and the Axe. Once upon a time, in a small village, there was a woodcutter who was famous for always bringing back the largest bundles of firewood from the forest. People often wondered how he could work so quickly and efficiently, while others would chop wood all day and still barely manage to gather a few logs. One day, a curious friend asked, "Hey, how is it that you can chop more firewood than us, even though you don't seem to be in a rush?" The woodcutter smiled, not answering immediately, and led his friend into his house. He took out his axe and said, "Before I start chopping, I always take the time to sharpen my axe." The friend was surprised. "But doesn't sharpening the axe take extra time? Don't you think it's a waste?" The woodcutter replied, "Because I sharpen my axe, I don't have to waste much effort or time chopping the wood. A sharp axe helps me work faster and more efficiently. If I kept using a dull axe, even if I chopped all day, I wouldn't get much done." The story of the woodcutter offers a valuable lesson. Thorough preparation is the key to achieving higher efficiency. In life or work, if we take the time to prepare, learn, and improve our skills, everything becomes easier and success comes faster. Sharpening the axe is not just an action, but a symbol of investing in oneself to do things in a smarter and more effective way. Story 2. Inner calmness is a form of grace and wisdom. Calmness is not simply silence or being quiet. It is the manifestation of an orderly, rich, and steady inner self. It is the ability to control oneself in the face of external influences, not allowing the ups and downs, good or bad, or life's fluctuations to affect one's way of living. Calmness is grace. It is wisdom, and sometimes it is a hidden strength that helps one overcome all adversity. One time, after finishing a calligraphy piece, I showed it to a colleague. He pointed at the neatly aligned strokes and said, "Looking at these characters, I can tell you wrote them when your mind was very calm. But from here on, your mind was disturbed, and the strokes lost their firmness." His comment surprised me. When I thought back, I realized that halfway through writing, I had suddenly become preoccupied with some troubling thoughts. This not only disrupted my emotions, but also affected the strokes I made afterward. Looking back at the first few characters, I saw that each stroke was firm and clear, as if each brushstroke reflected a mind that was calm and clear. It turns out practicing calligraphy is also a way to cultivate inner calmness. That calmness, when practiced long enough, becomes a latent strength, like a female taxi driver who used her calm demeanor to deal with an armed robber. In the face of danger, she didn't panic but maintained clarity, which made the robber confused and ultimately abandon his intention to commit the crime. When apprehended, the robber admitted that it was her calmness that had shattered his resolve, as he had never encountered anyone like her before. Calmness is not just about being silent. It is also the ability to control emotions and respond flexibly to challenges. It is the wisdom of those who dare to face adversity, much like a soldier standing tall, unyielding in the face of the enemy. I still remember, during a visit to the Longmen Grottos, I was drawn to a statue resembling the face of Empress Wu Zetian. The serene expression and the smile full of inner peace portrayed in the statue conveyed a sense of noble calmness, as if she were overseeing all things from above. This stillness, though quiet, contained a strength that commanded respect. Living in a society full of competition and noise, maintaining calmness like a cool stream in the desert is not easy. Calmness allows us to see life as fleeting, like passing clouds, not getting caught in the whirlpool of rivalry and envy. When faced with failure, calmness helps us remain resolute and keep moving forward. Calmness is not a natural state. It is the result of cultivation, of wisdom rising above all fluctuations. Therefore, don't just chase after success, but learn to maintain an inner calm. Because when you achieve calmness, success will surely no longer be far away. Story 3. The Farmer and the Bamboo. Once upon a time, in a small village, there was a farmer who decided to plant a grove of bamboo in his garden. He had heard that bamboo was a plant with strong vitality and brought many benefits. However, when he planted the first bamboo shoots in the ground, he never imagined that he would face such a challenging journey. Every day, after returning from the fields, the farmer would diligently water and care for the bamboo grove. But for an entire year, there were no signs that the bamboo would sprout. His neighbors saw this and mocked him. "This old man is foolish, wasting his time nurturing barren land without getting anything in return." The farmer paid no attention to the mockery and quietly continued his work. In the second year, the situation remained unchanged. The land seemed lifeless, and his patience was beginning to wear thin. But whenever he felt like giving up, he would remind himself, maybe just a little more time, perhaps a miracle will happen. By the third year, the miracle did happen. One day, he saw the first tiny shoots emerging from the ground. Within just a few months, the entire bamboo grove suddenly shot up to several meters tall. It turned out that for the past 3 years, the bamboo had been silently developing a strong root system deep underground, preparing for the explosive growth that followed. The story of the farmer and the bamboo teaches us that silent efforts require time to germinate. Don't be too quick to give up, because great success often requires the patience to endure days without visible results. Like the bamboo, achievements are not always immediately apparent. But if you remain patient and trust the path you've chosen, your efforts will be rewarded at an unexpected moment. Story 4. The Harm of Envy. Once upon a time, on a high mountain, there was an abandoned temple. A young novice monk came to live there and did everything himself each day. He carried water, recited sutras, rang the bell, and took care of the temple grounds. Thanks to his diligent efforts, the water jars were always full, the bowl of water in front of the Guanyin statue was replenished, and even the dry willow tree began to regain its vitality. One day, a tall monk arrived at the temple. After a long journey, he was thirsty and drank half of the water from the jar. The young novice monk, seeing this, gently told him to go fetch more water to fill the jar. However, the tall monk didn't want to do it himself, so he asked the young novice to carry the water together. They both carried a bamboo pole down the mountain to fetch water. On the way back, they argued fiercely, as neither wanted to carry the heavier load. They pushed the water jar back and forth, trying to place it evenly between them. Soon after, another monk, who was overweight, arrived at the temple. He was thirsty and was told to go fetch water. However, after bringing back a jar of water, he drank both jars dry, leaving nothing for the water jar. From that point on, none of the 3 monks were willing to fetch water anymore. They only focused on chanting sutras and ringing the bell, neglecting the maintenance of the temple. The water jar dried up, the willow tree in front of the temple withered, and the bowl of water in front of Guanyin was never refilled. At night, mice frequently appeared, knocking over the candle holders and causing a large fire. The 3 monks, in a panic, rushed to put out the flames. It was only when faced with this danger that they realized how their division and envy had led them all into such a difficult situation. After the fire, the 3 monks had an epiphany. Only through unity can we have water to drink, and the temple can be properly cared for. They began to divide the tasks, working together to fetch water and take care of the temple. As a result, life in the temple became peaceful and harmonious. The story of the 3 monks reminds us that envy and selfishness not only harm others, but also harm ourselves. Unity and sharing are what make everything better. Greetings to all! This is a video with profound lessons from the ancients. I hope you enjoy watching it and gain valuable insights. Story 5. Don't be too formal. Living with an honest heart is the highest level of happiness. There was a young lay practitioner who was very diligent in his studies. He visited a famous monk in the area. The two of them talked from morning until afternoon, discussing profound philosophies and sharing reflections on life. After a day of conversation, as it was time for dinner, the temple servant brought out 2 bowls of noodles, one large and one small, and placed them in front of them. The monk saw the 2 bowls of noodles and pushed the larger one in front of the young lay practitioner, saying, "Eat this bowl of noodles." According to the usual etiquette, the young lay practitioner should have offered the larger bowl to the monk as a sign of respect. However, the lay practitioner did not do so. He naturally picked up the larger bowl and began eating without hesitation. The monk, seeing this, frowned, thinking to himself, "I thought this young man was wise, but it seems he doesn't understand proper manners." After the lay practitioner finished eating, he noticed that the monk had not yet picked up his chopsticks and appeared displeased. The lay practitioner then smiled and asked, "Master, why aren't you eating?" The lay practitioner continued, "I was truly very hungry, and I just ate like a starving tiger. I admit it was a bit rude, but if I had pushed the larger bowl, which you offered to me, back to you, that would have been insincere, wouldn't it? If it's not my genuine wish to do so, why should I?" The monk listened to the lay practitioner and calmly replied, "Let me ask you, what is the purpose of this meal? If the purpose is to eat, then you eating is eating, and I eating is also eating. Why should we distinguish who gives way to whom, who pushes what bowl? If I offer the larger bowl to you, is it not sincere?" Hearing this, the lay practitioner understood and felt more at ease. Through this conversation, he realized that in the minds of many, humility toward superiors and showing respect to elders is often seen as a sign of proper etiquette. However, etiquette is just an outward form, and focusing too much on the formalities can make one forget that true sincerity is the root of it all. This story brings to mind the words of Zhuangzi in The Great Learning. True intention leads to an upright heart. An upright heart leads to the cultivation of virtue. From the emperor to the common people, everyone must take self-cultivation as the foundation. In other words, sincerity and honesty are the true principles of being human. Etiquette and respect are just outward appearances, but without genuine sincerity and honesty, they are nothing but form, lacking true value. Through this, we understand that true virtue and righteousness come from an honest heart and a genuine intention. Without inner sincerity, all external acts of respect are empty. In life, sometimes we focus too much on appearances and worry about how to please others, forgetting that true sincerity from the heart is what matters most. A sincere heart and honesty will guide us to make the right decisions, opening the path to true happiness and helping us overcome the illusions of formal etiquette. Living honestly, without being overly concerned with external forms, is the highest state of happiness that everyone should strive for. Story 6. Sacrificing the big for the small. The ancients once said, "Do not neglect a small good deed, and do not commit a small bad deed." Even the smallest actions can reveal much about a person. Therefore, it is important to consider carefully before taking any action. The following story illustrates this point. In the years of the Kangxi Emperor, in the city of Beijing, there was a bookstore named Lim Kai. One day, a young scholar was standing in front of the cashier, reading a book. At the same time, a young boy came into the shop to buy a book and accidentally dropped a coin. The coin rolled to the feet of the young scholar, standing next to him. The scholar glanced around quickly and then swiftly stepped on the coin with his foot. After a while, the young boy finished paying and left. When the bookstore was empty, the young scholar bent down to pick up the coin that had been stepped on. An old man, who had witnessed the entire event, looked at the scholar and approached him. After a brief conversation, the old man learned that the young scholar's name was Pham Hu Kiet, the son of a tutor at the Imperial College, Kwok Tujayam. He had come to Beijing with his father to study and had happened to visit Lim Kai bookstore because it had many good books at lower prices than other shops. The old man smiled and bid him farewell. Not long after, Pham Hu Kiet worked in the Imperial College as a Jayam Sin, a scholar in training. Later, he was assigned to Jiangsu as a county magistrate. Overjoyed with his new position, Pham Hu Kiet quickly boarded a boat heading south to take office. Upon reaching Nanjing, he first went to visit his superior at the Jiangning Prefecture. At the Jiangsu Prefecture, the provincial governor, Mr. Tang Ben, received Pham Hu Kiet's business card but refused to meet with him. Pham Hu Kiet had no choice but to return to the guest house. After several days of being ignored, he continued to patiently request an audience, but all his efforts were in vain. After waiting for 10 days, on the 11th day, Pham Hu Kiet returned. This time, the prefecture's guard officer came to inform him that his name had been included in a memorial to the emperor, and he had been accused and dismissed from his post. Shocked and confused, Pham Hu Kiet immediately asked for the reason. The guard officer calmly replied, "Do you not remember what you did at the Dien Shua Street in the bookstore? At that time, you were just a scholar, yet you treated a coin as if it were your life. Now that you are fortunate enough to become an official, can you truly maintain integrity, avoid greed, and not become a corrupt or tyrannical official?" Pham Hu Kiet was stunned as he realized that the old man in the bookstore that day was none other than the provincial governor, Tang Ben, who had been quietly observing and testing his character. Tang Ben's words hit the weak spot in Pham Hu Kiet, leaving him speechless. In reality, even the smallest actions in life, whether accidental or intentional, can reflect one's character and influence the course of one's fate. This story reminds us that a small action, such as stepping on a coin or being careless in a small situation, can cause us to miss out on a great opportunity in life. The smallest acts of kindness, though unseen by others, are the foundation for cultivating virtue and accumulating blessings. In life, without caution and self-cultivation, we can easily lose what is most important, the valuable opportunities, just because of a thoughtless action. Do not neglect small good deeds, and do not commit small wrongs. Every action in life, no matter how small, has a far-reaching impact on our fate and our lives. Patience and self-cultivation, especially in the small things, will determine our long-term destiny. Story 7. Don't be busy blindly. At the top of a mountain, in a quiet temple, a young novice monk was busy from morning till night, doing every task in the temple. Yet he felt he was not achieving anything. One day, he decided to ask his master, "Master, I work hard all day, but why do I feel like I haven't accomplished anything?" The master smiled and did not answer immediately. He asked the novice to bring him his alms bowl. The master then proceeded with an experiment. First, the master placed large walnuts into the bowl, then filled the gaps with rice, and finally poured water into the bowl until it was full. Next, the master took another bowl, but this time he poured water in first, followed by the rice and walnuts. Immediately, the water spilled out, and there wasn't enough room for the rice and walnuts to fit. The master spoke calmly. Life is like these two bowls. If you fill your life with trivial matters like the second bowl, no matter how busy you are, you will still feel restless and anxious. Life can be busy, but it should be busy with the important things first. If you do the opposite, you will waste your energy without accomplishing anything. For important things in life, 1. Nurturing family. Family is the shelter, the only peaceful place that hides our flaws and failures. Yet many people devote most of their time and energy to work, neglecting their family. Zhang Guofan, a renowned official during the Qing dynasty, despite being busy with state affairs, always made time to nurture his family. He wrote numerous letters to his descendants, emphasizing the importance of a harmonious family. Thanks to this, the Zhang family thrived and produced many talented individuals. 2. Choosing the right friends. The companions you choose can determine the success or failure of your life. As the saying goes, you are the average of the 5 people you spend the most time with. Being around people with good morals and a positive energy will help you progress further. Zhang Guofan once summarized 8 types of friends you should associate with and 9 types of friends you should avoid. He emphasized, with a virtuous friend to help, even the timid can achieve great success. 3. Finding the right place. Life is like a stage, and each person has their own role. Do not try to be someone else or compete blindly. Understand yourself, find your rightful place, and maximize your potential. Zhang Guofan once said, "People fail not because they lack effort, but because they lack direction. Digging many wells without finding water is because one is not focused." 4. Taking care of health. There is nothing more valuable than health. Without it, all achievements and wealth become meaningless. Zhang Guofan, though not in perfect health, always focused on maintaining his well-being, keeping a cheerful attitude, and avoiding anger. He suggested, health cultivation begins with reducing worries and keeping an open heart as the medicine. Life is limited. Blind busyness only depletes our vitality without achieving anything truly meaningful. Focus on what's important: family, good friends, the right position, and health. Don't wait until your hair turns gray, looking back on life with regret. As the master once taught, do the important things first, and everything else will naturally fall into place. Story 8. Choosing is more important than effort. Once upon a time, there was a young man who was incredibly hardworking and always stood out in everything compared to those around him. However, despite his efforts for many years, his life and career remained unchanged. Discouraged, he sought advice from a Zen master. After listening to the young man's story, the Zen master called his 3 disciples and said, "Let us all go up the mountain 5 miles away to gather firewood. Each of you should bring back the amount of firewood that you feel most satisfied with." The 4 of them began their journey up the mountain, following the river to reach the firewood gathering site. They worked diligently throughout the afternoon. As dusk approached, they all returned one by one. The young man, exhausted and breathing heavily, limped in with only 2 bundles of firewood, despite having initially chopped 6. He explained, "I carried 6 bundles, but halfway through, I couldn't bear the load and had to throw away 2. After going a bit further, I grew too tired again and threw away 2 more. In the end, I could only bring back these 2 bundles." The 2 older disciples each carried 4 bundles. One of them explained, "We each chopped 2 bundles, then tied 4 together on a yoke and took turns carrying them back so we didn't get too tired." The youngest disciple, who was small in stature, brought back 8 bundles by using the river. He said, "I knew I was weak and the road was long, so I couldn't carry the firewood. Instead, I chose to follow the river, place the firewood on a boat, and let the current carry it back." When all 4 of them returned, the Zen master smiled, looked at the young man, and said, "Effort is commendable, but what's more important is the way you choose. Even a path that is your own, if not suitable, will wear you out and lead to failure. On the other hand, if you make the right choice, you will achieve your goal more easily, without harming yourself." The Zen master gently patted the young man's shoulder and added, "Remember this. Making the right choice is more important than the effort itself. Before exerting all your energy, you must first ensure that you are on the right path. Effort is essential for success, but if you choose the wrong direction, all your efforts will be wasted. Instead of simply focusing on working hard, take time to reflect, consider, and choose the most suitable path. A right decision will lead you to success more easily." Story 9. Greed is the shackles that bind us. There is a saying, "Life lies between the 2 lines of birth and death." So, between life and death, how should we live in a way that is worthy of a human life? The following ancient story will offer us a valuable lesson about greed and awakening. Long ago, in the land of Balanai in India, there lived a man who was hardworking and diligent, but lived a life of poverty. Whenever he earned money, he would save it, never spending a penny, and instead, he exchanged it for gold. He kept the gold in a jar, buried it in his house, and sealed it carefully. Over the years, his stash of gold grew, and his happiness increased along with it. Thanks to his frugality and savings, he eventually accumulated 7 full jars of gold. However, with the increasing wealth, the man's health continued to deteriorate. One day, he fell gravely ill, but because the cost of treatment was too high, he decided not to seek treatment and allowed himself to die. After his death, he could not transcend because of his attachment to the gold he had accumulated. His spirit transformed into a poisonous snake, guarding the treasure every day. Time passed, and he remained trapped in this endless cycle. Many years later, he realized that it was his greed that had led him into this situation. He understood that his obsession with material wealth had caused him to become a venomous snake, unable to transcend. After this realization, he decided to donate all of his gold as an offering. Only then was he able to be reborn into a new life. This man was believed to be the previous incarnation of Sariputta, one of the 10 great disciples of the Buddha. When people become too obsessed with money and material wealth, their hearts are filled with greed, anger, and resentment. They are wearing the shackles of a prison. It is these negative emotions, like resentment and anger, that form the bricks of a prison, trapping the soul. However, once we understand the truth and cleanse our hearts, a single moment of realization can break the chains and free ourselves. Things like hatred, anger, and greed are merely temptations of materialism, illusions that deceive us. If a person lives solely for wealth and possessions, they will find that life offers nothing more than fleeting things. In the end, everything becomes like water bubbles, short-lived and without lasting value. If wealth and fame are not the things we should pursue, then what is truly valuable? The answer lies in the elevation of the soul, in living with compassion and generosity, treating others with kindness, doing good deeds, and returning to our true selves. Only when we do this will our lives become truly light, free, and full of joyful serenity. A meaningful life, free of competition and hatred, is a life of peace and tranquility. Therefore, let go of greed and resentment so that your heart may be at peace. Live in alignment with your true nature, living not just for material things, but for spiritual elevation. In doing so, the world around you will become more beautiful and meaningful than ever before. Story 10. Two old friends, tea, and the deep philosophy of life. Tea is not just a beverage, but a philosophy, an art of living. Here is a story about two old friends who, while enjoying tea together, reflect on life, offering us profound lessons about human existence. One day, during a leisurely afternoon, the two sages sat together and enjoyed tea. One carefully brewed the tea, each motion meticulous and focused, as if performing a ritual. His tea companion asked, "At what stage of steeping do you find the tea to be the most delicious?" The other man paused for a long time, as if contemplating the question deeply. After a while of silence, he answered, "The first steeping, it is like a gentle breeze. The second steeping, like the green spring river. And the third steeping, like the light of the moon shining brightly." Each steeping of tea, the flavor and aroma changed, each with its own unique character. The two longtime tea friends still had not found an answer to the question, at what steeping is the tea the most delicious? However, they missed an important realization. The true enjoyment of tea lies in the present moment, in the very moment the tea is before them. The Buddha taught, life is found in each breath of the present. This story serves as a profound reminder of the preciousness of the present time. Our lives often revolve around concerns and the search for what is best, what is perfect. But, much like drinking tea, when we lift the cup and take a sip, we cannot know the flavor of the previous steeping, nor can we predict the flavor of the next. The only thing we can truly experience is the flavor of the tea in this moment, in this instant. Don't waste your youth by comparing your present life with the past or the future. Instead, cherish every moment. Savor your breath, the sounds around you, and the simple moments of life. The true value of the present is what we should learn to embrace and live fully within. A meaningful life is not one that chases after illusions, but one that lives completely with what we have right now. When we look at life, we also learn that each of us, whether a king or a commoner, must face the judgment of others. Cao Cao, a renowned historical figure, despite facing many enemies, never stopped pursuing his goals. Liu Bei, a figure known for his righteousness, also had many adversaries. Life, in order to achieve greatness, doesn't require too much concern about the opinions of others. What matters is perseverance, doing your work well, and following the path you have chosen. Whenever you feel tired, take a moment to pause. Breathe deeply. Enjoy a cup of green tea. Listen to a soft melody, and let your soul harmonize with the music and the tea, feeling a sense of tranquility. Life always has its ups and downs, sweet moments and bitter times. That is what life is about. The difficulties and suffering are just brief moments, like the bitterness of the first sip of tea. Life is sometimes sweet, sometimes bitter, but all of these are essential parts of our journey. Therefore, in life, learn to let go when necessary, and learn to accept what cannot be changed. Live gently, freely, without fighting, without holding grudges, and recognize that life is a precious and meaningful journey. We must learn to appreciate each moment, live with an open heart, live for ourselves and for those around us. And in the end, we will realize that happiness is not found far away, but in the present moments, when we know how to appreciate and live authentically with ourselves. Story 11. Everyone has a purse of blessings. Everyone born in this world carries a personal purse of blessings, and it is this fortune that determines their fate. Sometimes, even if a person has all the talents and intelligence, without the accompanying blessings, the outcomes of their life will be vastly different from those who possess great fortune. The story of Chu Thap Ni, who encountered the strangling ghost in the Hua family home, is a vivid example of this principle. The story took place in Hangzhou by the Qianxiao Bridge during the Qing dynasty. The Hua family was famous for being haunted by a ghost, one that could strangle anyone unlucky enough to get close to their house. One day, Chu Thap Ni, a butcher by trade, heard of the ghost and boldly decided to spend the night at the Hua family's house to uncover the truth. When night fell, the candlelight in the house turned an eerie green, and sure enough, an old woman with disheveled hair, bloodshot eyes, and yellowed fangs, holding a rope, approached. Chu Thap Ni had prepared a knife and struck fiercely at the rope held by the old woman. However, something strange happened. Every time the knife cut through the rope, it immediately reattached as if nothing had happened. The battle continued until the old woman gasped for breath and said, "Chu Thap Ni, you still have blessings, but you are short of 15,000 coins. When you have gathered that amount, you will understand just how powerful I, Kim Lao Nuong, am." With that, she disappeared. The next day, Chu Thap Ni told everyone the story and showed them the knife, which was still stained with a milky white blood and had a foul odor. Not long after, he sold all his belongings to raise the 15,000 coins. One night, after gathering the full amount, Chu Thap Ni passed away. This story conveys an important lesson about blessings and destiny. Everyone is born with a purse of blessings, and this fortune determines their wealth or poverty. Those with great blessings may become billionaires or rulers, while those with lesser blessings may lead a normal life. Some people are born into wealth not because of hard work, but because of the blessings from their previous lives. The story also emphasizes that no matter how talented a person is, without blessings, success will not last. Those who use cunning and dishonest methods to gain wealth will eventually have to pay the price, because the universe maintains balance. If you lack the blessings in your fate, you may gain temporary wealth, but in the end, you will lose everything. Blessings cannot be bought with money. They must be accumulated through actions, deeds, and personal cultivation. Every kind and virtuous action helps build your blessings. And when you have enough, life will naturally bring you good things. Therefore, while you can strive to work hard and achieve success, it is your blessings that are the true determining factor in life. How can you avoid ending up empty-handed? The answer is to live with a kind heart, avoid greed and jealousy, not harm others, and always maintain an attitude of humility and gratitude. When you live true to yourself, blessings will come to you naturally, and you will enjoy a fulfilling life. Story 12. Why do good people often face sorrow and difficulties? In life, many good people strive to live according to morals, doing good deeds, yet they still frequently face hardships and suffering. One such person, feeling unjustly treated by life, sought out a teacher and asked, "Why do good people like me always have to suffer, while bad people seem to live comfortably without facing any difficulties?" The teacher calmly looked at the student and replied, "If someone feels suffering, it is a sign that there is still some evil within their heart. If someone truly has no malice within, they would not feel such suffering. Therefore, the suffering you feel is because your heart still holds on to some evil, even though you may consider yourself a good person. The student felt upset and frustrated and replied, "How can I be a bad person, master? I always try to live a virtuous life." The teacher calmly responded, "If there is no evil in your heart, you would not feel suffering. Now, share with me your sorrows, and I will help you recognize the evil that exists in your heart." The student began to recount his troubles. "I feel that my salary is low, and my house isn't big enough. I always feel inferior and uncomfortable. In society, there are people with no culture who are wealthy, while I, as an educated person, only earn enough to get by. It feels so unfair. Even my family members don't listen to my advice, which makes me frustrated and unhappy." The teacher listened and smiled gently, saying, "You have enough to live, enough to support yourself and your family, and don't have to worry about food or clothing. Yet you still feel suffering. This is not because you lack money, but because you have a desire for wealth and material possessions. That desire is evil in itself. If you can let go of that desire, you will no longer feel suffering." The student continued to listen as the teacher went on. "You feel it's unfair that those without culture are rich, while you, a cultured person, don't have a high income. This is envy, a form of evil. You think that because you have culture, you should be wealthy. This is arrogance, another form of evil. Culture is not the cause of wealth, but the good deeds you did in the past. Your family does not listen to your advice, which makes you uncomfortable. This is because you lack generosity. Your family members have their own thoughts and opinions. Why force them to be like you? A narrow heart, a lack of generosity, is also an evil mind." The teacher continued to explain the evil thoughts, such as greed, envy, arrogance, ignorance, and narrow-mindedness, and how all the feelings of suffering and frustration in one's heart stem from these negative emotions. If you can eliminate them, all your suffering will disappear. You must learn to let go of what is unimportant, not allowing external material things to affect your soul. Your happiness does not depend on how much money you make, but on your attitude toward life. The student began to understand, and the teacher concluded, "If you can be happy for the success of others, instead of feeling envy, you will feel peace and happiness. Learn to let go. Don't trap yourself in greed, envy, and arrogance. When you learn to live with generosity, life will become light and free." After the conversation, the student realized that it was his own inner turmoil that had kept him trapped in the cycle of suffering. The evil thoughts he had not recognized were the root causes of his sorrow. He thanked the teacher and began to change his mindset, eliminating the negative emotions and aiming for peace and serenity in his life. This story reminds us that it is not necessarily good people who always suffer, but the evil thoughts and negative thinking inside us that are the true causes of our pain. When we learn to eliminate them and live with kindness and generosity, nothing can make us suffer anymore. Story 13. The Narrow Path of Enmity. During the chaotic Three Kingdoms period, when the world was divided into three parts, the Eastern Wu state, under the rule of Sun Quan, held sway over one region and gathered many outstanding talents. Among them, Gan Ning and Lang Tong were two famous generals known for their bravery and combat skills. However, between them existed an irreconcilable grudge, turning these two brilliant individuals into bitter enemies. Gan Ning was a man of exceptional strength and a sense of justice. He had once been a bandit, but later submitted to Huang Zu, the governor of Jiangxia, with the hope of establishing his career. However, for 3 years under Huang Zu's command, Gan Ning was not given much recognition, despite his bravery in saving Huang Zu's life during a battle. Frustrated, he decided to leave Huang Zu and join Sun Quan's forces. There, he quickly gained favor and became one of the most renowned generals of Eastern Wu. However, Gan Ning's life faced a great challenge when he had to confront Lang Tong, the son of Lang Sa, whom Gan Ning had killed in a previous battle. Although Sun Quan had ordered Lang Tong to set aside personal grudges and unite for the greater cause, the hatred of his father's death still smoldered in Lang Tong's heart. Every time they crossed paths, Lang Tong could not hide his hostility, while Gan Ning, though always on guard, maintained a calm demeanor. At a banquet hosted by General Lu Meng, the two men accidentally encountered each other. Lang Tong, in his drunken state, stood up and asked to perform a sword dance to entertain the guests, but everyone understood that it was a provocative act aimed at Gan Ning. Unfazed, Gan Ning also stood up and boldly challenged him to a spear dance. The atmosphere at the banquet became tense, seemingly on the brink of erupting into a confrontation. At that moment, Sun Quan appeared, using gentle words to mediate and temporarily ease the conflict between the two men. Time passed, and the conflict between Gan Ning and Lang Tong remained unresolved until an important battle at Hefei, where the forces of Eastern Wu clashed with Cao Cao's Wei army. In the battle, Lang Tong led the troops into combat and faced off with General Xiaojian of the Wei army. The two fought for 50 rounds without any clear winner, but a stray arrow from the Wei forces struck Lang Tong's horse, causing him to fall to the ground. Xiaojian immediately charged forward to finish him off, but at that moment, an arrow from behind struck Xiaojian in the face, saving Lang Tong from certain death. When they returned to the camp, Lang Tong learned that the person who had saved him was none other than Gan Ning. Surprised and regretful, Lang Tong knelt before Gan Ning, crying and apologizing. "I never expected that you would overlook our grudge and save my life. I am deeply ashamed for all the offenses I have caused you." Gan Ning quickly helped Lang Tong to his feet, saying, "From now on, we are brothers, bound together in life and death." From that moment on, the two not only resolved their grudge, but also became close comrades, fighting together for the great cause of Eastern Wu. The story of Gan Ning and Lang Tong serves as a testament to the idea that holding on to hatred only drags people into suffering and loss. If Lang Tong had stubbornly held on to his grudge, he might have lost his life on the battlefield, and Eastern Wu would have lost a valiant general. Gan Ning, with his willingness to forgive and be magnanimous, not only resolved their enmity, but also saved himself from the bitterness of resentment. Forgiveness is not weakness. Rather, it is a powerful strength that allows individuals to transcend their own limitations. A true hero is not one who seeks revenge through violence, but one who repays wrongs with virtue, using kindness to resolve conflicts. As the ancient saying goes, hatred should be untied, not bound. This story reminds us that forgiveness brings peace not only to our enemies, but, first and foremost, to our own souls. The world becomes a more beautiful place when people treat one another with tolerance and compassion. Story 14. Why Laozi chose Don Hai as his true disciple, and the story of Hui Ke seeking the Dharma. Throughout history, many spiritual practitioners have traveled far and wide in search of the path to enlightenment. However, not everyone has the karma and virtue to be chosen as the true disciple of the great masters. The story of Laozi choosing Don Hai as his true disciple and the story of Hui Ke seeking the Dharma from Bodhidharma are profound examples of the testing process and the core values in selecting those who will inherit the truth. Laozi, one of the greatest figures in Chinese philosophy, lived around the 6th century BCE. He is considered the founder of Taoism and the author of the Tao Te Ching, one of humanity's greatest philosophical works. Laozi, whose real name was Lier, was once a high-ranking official in the Zhou dynasty court. However, he felt disillusioned by the pain and corruption of worldly affairs, which he believed were not in alignment with his nature. Therefore, he decided to leave his position and embark on a journey of self-discovery. As Laozi left the imperial court, he traveled to the Hangu Pass, where he encountered Don Hai, a young official known for his intelligence and virtue. Don Hai had been deeply fascinated by astronomy and spiritual cultivation from a young age, leading a simple life with no desire for fame or fortune. One day, while observing the sky, Don Hai saw a purple cloud moving westward and believed that a sage would soon pass through the pass. He prepared himself to welcome this wise figure. When Laozi approached the pass, Don Hai immediately recognized him and rushed out to greet him. He knelt in reverence and called Laozi a sage. Don Hai earnestly requested Laozi to stay and teach him the Taoist principles. At that moment, Laozi knew that Don Hai was a person with true virtue and a genuine desire to seek the path of enlightenment. After their meeting, Laozi imparted to Don Hai the priceless teachings of the Tao Te Ching, designating him as the successor to carry forward the Taoist teachings. The story of Hui Ke seeking the Dharma from Bodhidharma is another profound tale about perseverance and determination in the pursuit of enlightenment. Hui Ke, a person with a sincere desire to attain the true path, went to meet Bodhidharma, the founder of Chan Buddhism, with the wish of being taught the meditation practice. One winter morning, Hui Ke traveled to meet Bodhidharma under extremely harsh conditions. Snow was swirling in the air, and the cold wind cut through everything. Bodhidharma was sitting in meditation and did not want to be disturbed. Hui Ke stood silently outside the door all day without a word of complaint. As the night fell and the snow deepened, Hui Ke remained steadfast, standing in the cold, accepting the harshness of the winter without moving. The next morning, when Bodhidharma finished his meditation and opened his eyes, he saw Hui Ke standing in the snow, his body covered with snow. Bodhidharma asked him, "What are you doing here?" Hui Ke replied, "I wish to receive the Dharma from my master, so I have waited here all night." Bodhidharma, recognizing the determination in Hui Ke, said, "If you wish for me to transmit the Dharma to you, it will only happen when the snow falls pink." However, Hui Ke did not give up. He became even more determined, and to demonstrate his resolve, he cut off his own arm right in front of Bodhidharma to prove his commitment. After witnessing this act of unwavering determination, Bodhidharma finally acknowledged Hui Ke's persistence and transmitted the Dharma to him. Both of these stories share a common theme of steadfastness and determination in the pursuit of truth, and more importantly, the sincere intention without seeking anything beyond the teachings. In both cases, Laozi chose Don Hai, and Bodhidharma passed the Dharma to Hui Ke, all based on one principle: a person with sincere intent to learn, possessing virtue and perseverance, will receive enlightenment and the transmission of the truth. Story 15. Maintaining inner calm is the realm of strength, wisdom, and nobility. In life, we often encounter individuals who, when faced with a small difficulty, immediately erupt in anger or quickly resort to insulting words. However, there are also those who, when confronted with challenges, maintain a calm attitude and are not swayed by honor or disgrace. These are the people with a tranquil inner state, those who have reached a higher level of wisdom and strength. Tranquility is not boredom, nor is it emptiness or rigidity. It is order, a richness within the heart. It is self-discipline, the ability to not let one's mindset be influenced by external circumstances, by gains or losses, by the good and bad that the world offers. The strength of calmness is not merely silence. It is a form of grace, a type of wisdom and nobility. A story about a famous calligrapher serves as a clear illustration of this. One day, the calligrapher completed a piece of work and showed it to a colleague in the same field. After carefully observing the piece, the colleague pointed to two straight, neatly written lines and praised, "Just by looking at these characters, one can tell that you wrote them when your mind was very calm. But from this character onward, you can clearly see that your mind was in chaos." The colleague continued, "When the mind is not calm, the strokes lack force, lacking spirit. Writing calligraphy is just like cultivating the inner self." Upon hearing this remark, the calligrapher was deeply astonished. He recalled the minor conflict he had with his wife that morning, which left his mind unsettled. As a result, his calligraphy became chaotic, losing the order it usually had. Compared to the writing from the day before, where each stroke was firm, beautiful, and clear, the new writing showed a disarray that lacked the calmness and clarity that usually infused his strokes. From that moment on, he understood that practicing calligraphy wasn't only about honing the brushwork, but also about cultivating inner tranquility. Calmness is a form of strength. Those who wish to accomplish great things must possess a composed mind. Great sages, when faced with significant challenges or dangerous situations, are able to maintain a tranquil mind, undisturbed by fear. In a famous battle in history, the Eastern Jin army, with fewer than 100,000 soldiers, faced an enemy force of 1 million from the former Qin. The situation was dire. However, at the command post, General Tan continued to play the game of Go without showing any signs of panic. A person next to him, unable to contain their anxiety, asked about the situation on the battlefield. Tan replied calmly, "The children have already defeated the enemy." Those who panic when facing significant events are often those who lack self-confidence and the ability to control the situation. For these individuals, everything becomes confusing and chaotic because they lack the composure and strength to handle the challenge at hand. Similarly, in everyday life, when we encounter situations that don't go our way, feel anger or anxiety, if we don't know how to control our emotions, things will only become more complicated and tangled. Anger is like a spark in the hand, which, before it can be thrown at others, burns the person holding it. A person with inner calm will not let the fire of anger burn them and will avoid doing things they will regret in a moment of frustration. A person's composure is not something they are born with, nor is it something that can be easily acquired. It requires practice, accumulation, and perseverance. Reading is a wonderful way to nurture the soul, as through books, we can learn from those who have come before us, thereby enhancing our wisdom and developing the ability to overcome fear. The more knowledgeable a person is, the broader their perspective and the clearer their mind becomes. To cultivate righteousness and nurture composure, we need to live simply, without craving fame or profit, and free from trivial distractions. Only when we can let go of these desires can our inner selves become calm, leading to peace and serenity in the soul. When a person can let go of the distractions of fame, fortune, and sensual desires, and discard the disturbances from the outside world, their mind will become like a calm lake. In that moment, their soul will blossom like pure lotus flowers of compassion, spreading over all things in the universe. Though we are ordinary people and may not immediately reach such a noble state, by learning to control our emotions, refraining from speaking in anger, and living a peaceful life, we are moving closer to achieving inner tranquility. Life is not always smooth, but if we learn to live serenely, unaffected by the external storms, every hardship will gradually pass, and in the end, we will experience peace and calm in our hearts. Here is the English translation of the provided text. Story 16. Letting go of wealth to gain greater wealth. How can one truly let go of wealth and personal gain? Many people know that the struggle and pursuit of money, fame, and status not only exhaust the body and mind, but also cause divisions within families, with friends no longer seeing eye to eye. However, when wealth and benefits are laid out before them, it becomes hard to resist. So, how can one genuinely let go of wealth and personal gain? The story of Hong Hak Lao and a man named Tam serves as an example of how letting go of wealth can lead to even greater wealth. Tam was the owner of a small tavern. One day, a man dressed in rags came in and asked for a bowl of wine. Tam did not look down on the beggar due to his appearance, but instead gave him a large bowl of wine without charging any money. Every day, the beggar came for wine, and every time Tom gave it to him, never complaining. After 6 months, the beggar revealed to Tam that he owed him a lot of money for the wine, but had no means to repay. The beggar took out a piece of orange peel from his pocket and drew a golden crane on the wall. He said that by clapping, the crane would dance. Indeed, when the beggar clapped and sang, the crane leapt out of the wall and danced to the music. Tam's tavern became famous, and from then on, he became wealthy. One day, the beggar returned, still in his ragged clothes. Tom thanked him and wished to support him for the rest of his life, but the beggar simply smiled and said that was not the reason for his visit. Then he took out a flute and played, causing clouds to descend and the crane to fly down from the clouds to them. The beggar rode the crane's back and ascended to the sky. Tam realized that the beggar was actually an immortal Taoist sage. To show his gratitude, Tam built a pavilion at the spot where the sage had flown up, and it was named Hong Hak Lao. This story proves that letting go of wealth and not striving for personal gain can lead to even greater wealth. Similarly, the story of La Dong Tan, one of the 8 immortals of Taoism, also serves as evidence that letting go of fame and fortune leads to great enlightenment. La Dong Tan faced many trials, including tests related to personal interests. Once, when he went to a town to sell goods, the buyers suddenly turned hostile and offered half the price. La Dong Tan did not argue, but accepted the money and left. On another occasion, when La Dong Tan was about to leave his house, a beggar cursed at him, but he merely smiled and thanked him. Although the situation La Dong Tan encountered was far more difficult than the tavern owners, he remained calm, did not argue, and did not care about personal gain. As a result, La Dong Tan achieved Taoist enlightenment, became an immortal, and permanently escaped the cycle of suffering and reincarnation, living freely in the heavenly realm. La Dong Tan's story shows that when a person can let go of wealth, fame, and realize that what they are pursuing is nothing more than an illusion, like the moon reflected in water, they will attain deep enlightenment. Letting go not only helps a person free themselves from material concerns, but also brings about a state of tranquility and noble wisdom. Therefore, we must learn to let go of personal gain to live a life of understanding, compassion, and virtue. In doing so, we will receive greater wealth, peace, and happiness in return. Story 17. The highest realm of wisdom is to follow nature. In life, many people strive to achieve success, but often, they feel that life is full of troubles, obstacles, and endless struggles. Perhaps the reason is not due to a lack of effort, but because they are going against the natural flow and refuse to accept the way the universe operates. The story Work the Fields When It's Sunny, Read Books When It Rains is passed down from the Three Kingdoms period and is said to contain the wisdom and insights of the renowned sage Zhuge Liang. In ancient times, farmers lived in harmony with the natural order. When it was sunny, they worked in the fields. When it rained, they rested. However, in modern society, people often rush into their work, preoccupied with making money, and sometimes fail to enjoy the moments of nature, which leads to anxiety and stress. Nevertheless, life doesn't always go as planned. Rain may disrupt your work schedule, but it also offers a chance to rest, relax, and recharge. You can't always control everything. The rain nourishes the earth, allowing plants to grow. Therefore, instead of resisting nature when challenges arise, we should learn to go with the flow, embrace the situation, and accept whatever comes our way. There is a Buddhist story about a young monk who was tasked with tending the garden at the monastery. He noticed the grass in the garden had withered, and, eager to fix the problem, he urged his master to scatter more seeds. However, the master calmly instructed him to let nature take its course. A gust of autumn wind blew through, carrying the seeds away, and the young monk panicked, believing the effort had failed. But the master calmly explained that most of the seeds blown away by the wind were empty, unable to sprout. Later, a heavy rain showered the land, nourishing it, and eventually, the seeds that remained took root, transforming the garden into a lush, green landscape. This story illustrates the wisdom of accepting the natural course of things and trusting that in time, what is meant to grow will do so, while what is not meant to be will fade away. The lesson here is, if something cannot be changed, let it be. Do not rush into action or force things to happen. Life is not always as we wish, but when we remain calm and unburdened, everything will naturally fall into place. In the Tao Te Ching, Laozi taught, the person follows the earth follows the heavens follow the Tao, and the Tao follows nature. This is the law of the universe. Everything has its own cycle and rule. Humans need only to live in harmony with these laws, without forcing, competing, or tirelessly chasing things that do not belong to them. When we learn to live naturally, we realize that life is not about holding on to things, but about going with the flow and allowing everything to unfold naturally. As the saying goes, spring has 100 flowers, Autumn has the moon, summer has cool winds, and winter has snow. Each season brings its own beauty. When we stop seeking perfection, stop worrying about the future or dwelling on the past, we will live in peace, enjoy every moment, and experience tranquility in our hearts. People often try to hold on to everything, but in the process, they unintentionally lose the most precious things. When faced with difficulties, instead of rushing to solve them immediately, allow everything to flow naturally and go with the current of life. When we can accept everything as part of life, we will realize that everything happens for a reason and comes at the right time. What is meant to come will come, and all challenges will eventually pass. Therefore, live a simple life without competing or forcing things. Keep your mind peaceful and do things in harmony with the rhythm of nature. When you do so, you will feel tranquility and receive unexpected rewards, just like flowers blooming after the rain. Story 18. Enlightening students on humility and sharing. In life, many people are afraid of losing their own benefits or worry that others might learn the skills and knowledge they possess. However, the reality is that if you know how to let go and share, you will realize that teaching others not only benefits the learners but also brings great rewards to yourself. Your selfless heart will earn respect from others, and you will continue to grow. Confucius once said, "When 3 people walk together, one of them can be my teacher." This means that everyone has something to teach us. If we maintain a humble attitude and share with others, we will continue to progress. Learning from others not only helps expand our horizons, but also allows us to see the things that are not yet perfected within ourselves so that we can keep improving. One time, my school organized an exchange event between students from different schools. My school is considered one of the top schools in the city. So many students from other schools were eager to visit and learn. During the class meeting, I selected a few students to welcome the guests from the other schools. However, I was surprised when one of the students stood up and said, "Teacher, we don't mean to refuse the exchange, but the students coming from our school this time have lower grades. We can exchange with them, but we won't gain much knowledge. Instead, they will learn a lot of useful skills. This doesn't seem fair, so we don't want to interact with them." After hearing that, I smiled and said, "So, you don't want to interact because what you gain doesn't seem as valuable as what you give. But is that really the right perspective? You must understand that the true strength of a person lies in continuous learning, not in competing with others. Focus on developing yourself and embrace the good things that others offer, even if they are less skilled than you." I then shared a story from the Tang Dynasty, a powerful era in China. The Tang Dynasty was not only known for its military strength, but also for its open-mindedness, tolerance, and generosity. We can see this through Emperor Taizong's acceptance of the spread of Western Christianity, a faith that was banned in Europe at the time. Not only did he allow the teachings to be shared, but he also supported the construction of churches for the followers. Emperor Taizong opened his heart to embrace new ideas, even those from a foreign religion. This ideal not only promoted the development of the Tang Dynasty, but also made it increasingly stronger. When you are open-minded and embrace the strengths of others, you not only become a better person, but also cultivate a large, loving heart. Therefore, when interacting with your peers, consider it an opportunity to learn and share. Do not let criticism or jealousy limit your own growth. Once again, I asked the students, "Do you know the poem Du Xian to Hu Qian Tang by Bai Zhi? How did he approach writing poetry?" The students shook their heads. I explained that whenever Bai Zhi finished a poem, he would read it aloud to an old woman. If she didn't understand the meaning, he would revise it until she did. This is a clear example showing that a person can be a famous poet, yet still humble themselves and value the people around them. From this story, I want you to understand that the quality of someone's learning in any field is not the only standard for evaluating their worth. Confucius once said, "When 3 people are walking together, there must be one who can be my teacher." Even those with lower status can help and teach us, and this does not harm the teacher's reputation. On the contrary, being humble and learning from others helps expand our knowledge and vision, making us even more admired by others. Therefore, I encourage you to recognize your own shortcomings while also discovering the strengths of others. Learn from them and improve yourself to grow further. Remember, giving more than receiving will bring valuable life lessons. In the end, the students in the class felt embarrassed by their initial attitude and expressed their intention to participate in the exchange. They eagerly shared their learning experiences with students from other schools and received enthusiastic applause. It was the humility and generosity inherent in traditional culture that helped these students realize their shortcomings, make timely corrections, and improve their self-cultivation. This is highly commendable, as teaching children to maintain a positive attitude when interacting with others will be very beneficial for their future behavior. Thank you all for taking the time to listen to our video. We wish you a life of peace and happiness. Now, we would like to say goodbye and look forward to seeing you in our next videos.